Hello, welcome to the Data Management webinar for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers. The Idaho State Department of Education, or commonly known as the SDE, will be hosting this webinar to provide 21st CCLC grantees guidance on data management for 21st CCLC programs. This webinar will be recorded and posted to the 21st CCLC webpage in the Training tab. Furthermore, PowerPoint slides and webinar script will be available. As a reminder, it may take up to 2 weeks for the webinar to be uploaded to ensure compliance with accessibility. At any point during the webinar, you may experience an epiphany because an overwhelming, insightful comment. This may lead you with an eager feeling to follow up. Therefore, I encourage you to ask questions or make comments during the webinar. To ask a question, simply click the question box on your webinar toolbar. As a way of reminder, all questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar and will not be included in the recorded version of the webinar. I, Andrew Fletcher, the 21st CCLC and Student Engagement Coordinator, will facilitate today's webinar. As outlined in the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, 21st CCLC programs are required to collect the data necessary for the measures of student success. ESSA, Section 4206, B1E. The objectives for this webinar are to ensure that 21st CCLC grantees understand the basic requirements for data collection and know how to enter data into the data collection workbook. Therefore, the agenda for this webinar has been broken into 4 different sections: an overview of data management, tutorial of data collection workbook, dashboards and reports, and a question and answer section. But first, I want to make sure that grantees are aware of how to access the 2 primary resources for data collection. Both resources can be found on the 21st CCLC webpage under Resource Files, Grantee, in the Data Management accordion. The first resource, the Data Management Guidance, is a PDF document that outlines all the required elements, definitions, and steps for the data management. It is designed to follow in the order of the data collection workbook. The data collection workbook is an Excel file and is the second resource available for data management. It is important to note that each center of after-school operation must have an individual data collection workbook. For example, if you are operating 21st CCLC after school in 2 school buildings, then each building or center would need a separate data collection workbook. However, if you bus 2 schools into 1 school or center, then you would only need 1 workbook. Therefore, 1 workbook for each center. So, let's start with a 3D overview of data management, and that's dates, data, and definitions. We will address the upcoming dates for data reporting, the essential elements collected by each center, and common definitions for 21st CCLC. On the federal level, data collection is broken into 3 different terms: fall term, spring term, and summer term. For Idaho, the fall term is from the first day of school year program until January 31st. The spring term is from February 1st until the last day of the school year program. And the summer term is, well, the first day of summer until the last day of summer. It is important to note that fall and spring term data are collected in 1 data collection workbook. The summer term data is collected in a separate data collection workbook. It is required that all data collection workbooks are uploaded to the SDE SFTP portal. Guidance on how to upload the data collection workbook is not included in this webinar, but will be offered at a later time. It is important to note that the first upload date for fall and summer data is February 9th. The upload date for the spring data is June 15th. Grantees are allowed to upload data prior to these dates if they so choose. For example, many programs end in late April or early May. Therefore, instead of waiting until June, a grantee may decide to upload the data the week after program ends. So they could upload it in April or May if they wished. But again, these are the deadlines for data uploads. There are 6 primary elements to the data collection workbook, which we will go into more detail and provide a tutorial of each element here shortly. But the 6 elements are: 1, a center overview; 2, staffing; 3, activities; 4, participation; 5, family engagement; and 6, annual performance report questionnaire. And like I said, we will go into more depth and we will address all of these in the tutorial. So now let's move on to some common definitions to know within data management. A center is the site or location where programming primarily occurs. Staff, an individual that has responsibilities or regular involvement based upon program needs and/or agreements. Staff could be paid staff and/or volunteer staff. A volunteer is an individual not receiving 21st CCLC grant funds. A volunteer may still be getting paid, however, it is through a funding source outside of 21st CCLC. Participant, an individual that participates in at least one day of 21st CCLC services. Now, be aware, a student may fill out an enrollment form, however, they are not a participant until they actually show up to the program. Attendance is key to being a participant of 21st CCLC. Regular program participant, an individual that participates in 30 days or more during the school year. Average daily attendance, the aggregate number of days of attendance of a participant divided by the top 100 days. And as a way of a reminder, average daily attendance is calculated off of the top 100 days of programming. Of course, grantees may still offer more than 100 days, but they will not be included in the ADA formula. However, those that offer more than 100 days benefit because they have a few extra days to eliminate days of low attendance. Family, an individual who is either 1, responsible for the participant, such as a parent or guardian, or 2, anyone the participant identifies as being important in his or her life, such as a sibling, extended family member, and so forth. It is now time to provide a tutorial of the 6 data elements found in the data collection workbook. But first, when you open the data collection workbook, I would recommend saving it as a unique file name. To save, click File, Save As, save it wherever you choose, and my recommendation is to include your grantee name, the district or organization, then your center name, the school building or location of programming, and the current year. Now, I also recommend storing this file in a location where you will remember it. And before we jump to the data elements, I must also point out another thing. At the bottom of your Excel workbook, you will notice various tabs with different colors. The tabs represent which data element is being collected. Furthermore, the color tabs have a specific meaning. Yellow tabs are dashboards, which provide data visualization through graphs and charts on key data elements. There is no data to enter in yellow tabs. Green tabs are where the data will be entered. If it is green, then there is at least one area that requires data to be collected. Orange tabs are optional and not required to enter data. There's only one orange tab, and that is the activity adjustments. For example, the activity, the green tab, is where activities will be entered. However, the activity adjustment, the orange tab, is available if a grantee needs to make adjustments. Again, it is not required, but optional if needed. And we'll go a little more into this as we get into the activity reporting. Now, red tabs are reports, which there are two different types of reports. The U.S. Department of Education report and the State Department of Education, which is our statewide objectives. There is no data to enter in red tabs. There are black tabs, but you should not see any black tabs because those will be in future versions of the data collection workbook. So if perchance you do see a black tab, then just ignore it. Let's start with the data elements. The first is the center overview. This is just providing the basic information regarding the center, such as the center's name, address, contact information, and so forth. For center contact information, I recommend that directors use their information rather than center coordinators, building principals, or secretaries. Because in the rare case that someone from the U.S. Department of Education does decide to contact that center, then you would probably want to be the point of contact. It is important to note that for center type, there is a drop-down. Now, most centers in Idaho will be classified as a public school. However, there are other options. So think about what type of physical building the center is. Next, include the feeder schools. A feeder school is the actual school that participants are from. Each center should have at least one feeder school. One feeder school. Each center should have at least one feeder school. For example, if you are operating program out of Ravenclaw Elementary, then Ravenclaw is the center and the feeder school. Now, feeder schools are only those schools that participants are enrolled in the current year. Therefore, a feeder school that serves middle school does not include the elementary schools that participants once came from as feeder schools. Just the current schools. And lastly, you provide information about the partners. These are those entities other than the grantee or the feeder school that provide some type of contribution, whether it's cash or in kind or other services. Next we will, so that is all there is to centers. And next we will move on to staffing. There are two essential elements grantees are required to collect for staffing. The first is basic information of each staff member, and the second is the professional development the staff member participated. It is important to note that staff attendance is not reflected here. Time and effort or timesheets are tracked elsewhere, not here. This is only for staff professional development. I would start off by entering staff member names, whether that is a volunteer or a paid staff member. As a reminder, we collect information about both volunteers and paid staff in this sheet. A volunteer is an individual that does not receive 21st CCLC grant funds. Next, enter if they worked during the fall term. The fall term is the first day of program until January 31st. And then you'll enter the status of each staff member. Were they paid with 21st CCLC grant funds, or were they a volunteer? And then you will enter the type of staff member. I will not go through all the definitions for types of staff. However, they can be found in the data management guidance document. Ultimately, you want to ask yourself, what is this person's role outside of after school? And then click the single best option. Again, these types and statuses are drop-down options. After you've entered the basic information, then you are ready to enter the professional development attendance. For professional development, we collect the date, hours of PD, name of the PD, and individual attendance. To enter attendance, you can simply put an X or some character marker that lets you know that that person was present. If the individual was not present, then you simply leave it blank. Now we will move on to activities. Entering activities is a new feature to the data collection workbook. As you will see, on the left-hand side, there's a time entry guidance and an activity entry guidance. As a way of reminder, don't touch anything that is gray. And it is recommended that you enter time by rounding to the nearest quarter. So 15 minutes equals 0.25, 30 minutes equals 0.5, and so forth. Next, you can see the activity options. A complete definition of each activity is found within the data management guidance. The activities with asterisks represent state-level activities as requested from grantees. This is to have a more exhaustive list of allowable activities. Anything not on this list is not included, such as transition times, snack, bathroom breaks, and so forth. We are only collecting information on these activities. Also, during any given time, there may be more than one activity offered. For example, a grantee may provide participants with a choice of physical activity in the gym or STEM in the cafeteria. So let's talk about how to enter activity information. The first thing to do is enter the total hours of program time offered for each day. In this example, you can see that on Monday, the center offers 45 minutes of before school and 2.5 hours after school. On Tuesday, no before school and 3.5 hours of after school, and so forth. As you can see, the center offers a total of 12 hours of program on a typical week. Now, the activity data has been broken up into blocks. Grantees may select up to 6 blocks during a program year. This alleviates the hassle of entering activities every single day. A grantee simply enters the start date and the end date of each block. And note, it is not required to have multiple blocks. A grantee may have the same activities for the entire school year. Therefore, there would only be one block. And that one block would represent the start date, which would be the first day of program, and the end date, which would be the last day of program. In this example, we are doing a block of activities from October 1st until December 8th. Therefore, the next thing we will do is enter our activities. Every Monday in this block, we offer the same type of activities. To select an activity, you click the arrow next to the cell and then click on the activity. So, every Monday within the dates of October 1st to December 8th, the center offers 1 hour of homework, 1.5 hours of STEM, half hour of physical activity, half hour of literacy, and half hour of culture diversity. As you may realize, the time does not equal the same as what is listed above. It does not have to be the same below as what's offered above, because the center gives students a choice between maybe literacy club or a culture diversity club. So it's during the same half hour in real time. And now you would do this for all of your blocks. And essentially that's all you would have to do to enter activities. Next, we will move on and discuss participant attendance. This will be the most visited data entry that happens, because typically it happens on a daily basis. And so this will be the most visited sheet within the data collection workbook. To help set up the data for success, I recommend entering a few things in advance before the program even starts. 1, enter the proposed number of students based on the original grant application or amendment. And again, this gives you the goal, constantly aware of what it is you're striving to serve within your program. Next, I would enter the dates planned for the programming year. And remember, if you enter a date in the date row, the dates, then the system will read it that you are hosting program that day. So do not include dates where there is no program. For example, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, and so forth. And also, as a way of reminder, do not touch the gray areas. So once you enter in the date, the month, and the days, and the time offered will autofill. Next, you're going to want to enter your participant roster. Enter the 9-digit student ID number, the first name, the last name, and the grade level. As you can see, when you enter the grade level, the cell will automatically change color. I stole this idea from Twin Falls District and thought it could add a little color to our life. For those familiar with previous versions, you will notice that you do not have to touch the fall term column. Once a participant attends, then the system will automatically update the fall term. Remember, do not touch the gray areas. Once we have the dates and the participant roster, then we can start entering attendance. The key for attendance is up top, and you can see A is for AM or before school, P is for PM or after school, and B is for both. Of course, if you only offer after school, then you will only have to use P. If a participant is absent, then simply leave it blank. Again, you can see that the total attended for that day will auto-populate, and it'll look something like this. And as you enroll more students throughout the year, then you simply add them into your participant roster at the bottom. That is the basic feature of entering participant attendance. It's time to discuss family engagement. But what's that? You need me to break out into song? Okay, here's a little Sister Sledge for you to set the mood. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. Okay, we can be done with that for now. So let's jump into family engagement. As you'll notice, it has a same or a similar setup as the participant attendance sheet. So the first thing I would do is enter your participant roster. And I recommend copying and pasting participants' names and grade levels from the participant attendance sheet, so that way you don't miss anyone. Next, add the basic information of the family engagement, such as the date, the time offered, the service name, and the service type, whether it's family literacy service or parent involvement opportunity. And as a reminder, the statewide objective is to offer 5 family literacy services and 3 parent involvement opportunities. Definitions of these types of family engagement can be found in the data management guidance, as well as in ESSA section 8101. And lastly, you enter family attendance. Family attendance is entered vicariously through the participant. For example, you can see here that Lisa Turpin had 2 family members present at the parent orientation meeting. Chow Chang had 3 family members present. Remember, we are not tracking the individual participant, only the family members of the participant. And that's only the family members that are non-21st CCLC participants. Furthermore, Another point to make is that total in attendance is not a required field. However, grantees have requested to be able to reflect out the entirety of who participated in the family engagement activity. So as you can see here, that 28 total unique family members is what's getting reported to our federal and state reports. However, there were 76 individuals that participated in the family engagement, whether that could have been community members, 21st CCLC participants, school teachers, staff, whoever it may be. And again, it's not required to enter that in, but you may want to better reflect what you're doing in family engagement. And it may be beneficial as you report out to other programs, stakeholders, and your school. So let's also remember that to ensure family members are not duplicated, if you have siblings in the center, then simply enter X to represent that a family member was already present but counted with another participant. So here you can see that Ginny Weasley had one parent or family member participate in the parent orientation, as well as her 4 other brothers that participate in the program. So you simply mark an X. Next, we'll move to participant demographics. The demographics collected are sex, race, ethnicity, limited English proficiency, and special needs. We also collect lunch numbers, which are collected in aggregate and broken out by pre-K through 5th grade and 6th through 12th grade. I would recommend entering demographic data at the end of fall term and the end of spring term, just to pull all the kids at one time. Makes it a little cleaner and easier for you. However, you could do it as you see fit for your program. And once again, I recommend copying the fall term, the first name, last name, and grade level from the participant attendance sheet to ensure you do not lose any participants. And that way, all of your sheets are the same in terms of participation. Then go through and add sex, race, ethnicity, LEP status, and special needs status. Now, each of the demographics do have drop-down options, and grantees must follow the drop-down options as outlined to match the U.S. Department of Education system. Therefore, if a grantee pulls the data from their local data collection system and pastes it in without converting it to match, then none of the data will be reported. It is the grantee's responsibility to ensure the data matches accordingly and is accurate. Primarily, we see this issue within the race ethnicity. For many districts, separate out race as one column and ethnicity as another. Therefore, you would see ethnicity as either Hispanic or not Hispanic, and race being all the other ones. However, U.S. Department of Education does not separate out the two. It's race and ethnicity combined. So therefore, that Hispanic option flows into the race. So it is a grantee's responsibility to ensure that when they enter race ethnicity, that it includes that ethnicity is of Hispanic and not Hispanic as well. The last piece is the Apr Questionnaire, which this has been included into the workbook to centralize the data collection. These are simply narrative questions to help the grantee explain or provide additional information concerning the performance of the 21st CCLC program. There's also an opportunity for justification of the data collection in case if things are a little off or there's something that needs further explanation, and additional comments to include regarding the data collection workbook. Again, these grantee responses could be done throughout the year, and they could be delegated out to center coordinators, paraprofessionals, or after-school aides, whoever is working with direct contact of students. Now, that concludes the tutorial of the elements for data collection. However, I would like to address and talk a little bit about dashboards and reports. There is a center dashboard to help you see the data visually. It provides information such as attendance, activities offered, demographics, and family engagement. These charts and graphs are easy to copy and paste into PowerPoint to use for presentations when discussing with school boards, stakeholders, administrators, and so forth. There's also a participant dashboard, so you can see individual participant data, such as attendance records and so forth. This could be helpful when you have conversations with school day teachers and parents concerning participant attendance. There are also two reports. One report for the U.S. Department of Education and one report for our statewide objectives for the State Department of Education. The first report includes all information required for 21 APR tactile group data collection system, which this is now submitted by the SDE for all grantees. I mean, it's terrifically fun to enter data for 100+ schools. However, we are committed to figuring out how to ease the burden of data collection for you guys, so that way you guys can focus more on what matters. The second report is to measure the statewide objectives. You will be able to see quickly and easy whether an objective was met. As a way of reminder, the statewide objectives have 5 focuses: academic, enrichment, family engagement, targeted services, and continuous improvement. Once an objective is met, the system will automatically change from not met to met. And again, in both of these reports, as they are grayed out, there is nothing that you will need to manually input into these. All of this will upload automatically. This concludes the data management webinar. Thank you for participating. I will now stop the recording and address any questions that were asked throughout the webinar and answer any questions directors still have.